scary thing? I set it up by looking at the blade and they're still going, pick me! Pick me! I want to be a cutting tinker. Do you know why? Yes! And not only is NCIS our favorite show, but like everybody wants me. I would be kids though.
I love kids.
He get slapped somebody last night in the hallway though.
It's not my, I'm used to like my son being 20 years old is obviously Denozo. So that's kind of a, pay attention! Hi, Abby. Everybody say hi, Abby! Hi. Everybody say bye, Abby. Okay, Abby, what I want you to come up on the stage right here. I want you to stand right there. And look down. Okay. What we're going to demonstrate is the Japanese art known as Tameshigiri. Tameshigiri is test cutting with a sword. Prior to 1600, the samurai had the opportunity to test their skills in battle against other opponents. After 1600, the Tokugawas came into power. Unified Japan, there was one government, and there were no more large-scale pitched battles. I realize technically that's not true, there were two, but they were mostly one-sided slaughter. But swords against guns, remember the thing earlier, those who live by the sword have been shot by those who don't. Satsuma Rebellion was the last one. But the samurai needed another way to test their skill with a sword, since they couldn't use it on the battlefield against someone else. So what they settled on for a brief time was a practice known as Tsujigiri. Tsujigiri in English means peasant cutting. And it means just what you think it means. For 10 years in Japanese history, it was legal for the samurai to cut down peasants just to see if their swords were sharp. So Abby, this is what you do. Okay? Do you see the stand? Do you see the spike right there? Yeah. What I want you to do is I want you to climb up on the stand, and I want you to sit right there. And then don't worry, I'll take care of the rest. No, at least she faked it. We had a 13-year-old boy that jumped. And she had to catch him. And we're like, whose child is this? And the lady in the back row kind of raised her hand. Do you have other children? And she goes, we stopped after him. Right? But the truth is, these guys, how many of you want to see me cut with a sword? Yeah! Abby, the customer is always right. Get on the stage.
No. I think it's time for a stunt double here.
Stunt double? Look, she's Abby, not Tom Cruise. Yeah! Do you know how we know she's not Tom Cruise? She's tall. I mean, so, hi. Oh! Abby, we're going to send you back to your seat with your very own dartboard. Button that says with your picture on it. Yes! Everybody say bye, Abby. Actually, give Abby a hand. And we will proceed with our demonstration with Abby 2.0. Looks just like her.
Let's start saying.
These are the same people that thought I was sexy. We have the same build. To be honest with you, Tsujigiri wasn't very popular in Japan either. And why you're going, duh, of course it wasn't popular in Japan. The peasants hated it. Times have not changed. No one cared. In early 17th century Japan, if the peasants didn't like it, it was abolished because it was unpopular with the samurai. They deemed it inconvenient. No, it wasn't even so much that they had to find peasants. Peasants were very plentiful in Japan. They had more peasants than horses. Which is why when you're looking at the sword in the catalog, it says, it's the worst killing sword. No, they did not practice to kill horses on the battlefield because the horses were more valuable than the people. They killed the people and took the horse. So, it was inconvenient because if she sends her peasant to go get her a drink of water, and I hack him down to see if my sword's still sharp, she has to get her own water. And that was an imposition. So they abolished it. After a couple of trial and errors doing different things, like hacking hacking up dead bodies. That's actually where they came up with the 7. It wasn't college guys looking at girls. What the samurai slept on was this. This is rice straw. You know, rice being the staple of Japanese agriculture. They use its products for everything. And what they discovered is, if you take rice straw, you gather it in bundles, tie it off with these authentic 16th century rubber bands.
It was lazy now.
Me. If you soak the rice straw in water overnight, the water soaks into the fibers, so it swells, it gains weight and density until it takes on the approximate characteristics of Abby! And as of right now, there are no activist groups complaining that the rights of rice straw is being violated. Actually, that's not true anymore. We did a sci-fi con in Roanoke, Virginia back in March, and I made that statement, and some of the college kids started a Facebook group. So, when you go home from the con, go to our Facebook, Samurai Dan and Jillian, and like us, please. But follow the links. There's a thing on there from this college group about the rights of rice straw being violated, and you're supposed to sign up if you hate that. College students, we had to explain to them it's not the same kind you smoke. Okay. So, what the samurai did was they used this to practice cutting with. Now, what I'd like to explain first, this is a 700-year-old, $25,000 folded steel katana. It will cut through beads. If you go to Walmart, spend $6.96, buy a machete. If it's ground properly, it'll do that too. It's what it was made for. For the samurai, what they were looking for was more than just really cut through the weeds. Because those big, sloppy figure 8 cuts you see when you're staying up late at night watching reruns of Conan on Cinemax, or am I the only one that does that? Those big figure 8 cuts didn't work very well on the battlefield. Wouldn't penetrate the armor, and frankly, just against human anatomy, it didn't work very well. It was inaccurate. So for the samurai, they were looking for something a little bit more exact, about a 35-degree downward diagonal, okay? And now that I've told off on myself, watch me cut, watch the angles, and if you think my angle's off, by all means, come up to me after the show and criticize me. With your sword. I love criticism. So, down. I'm taller than this. Downward diagonal. Right? Abby! It's for you! Yes! Jump! Now the samurai didn't just cut down. They also cut back up. Because armor was designed to protect from the top down. And so if you could turn and cut back up, you had vulnerable spots in Gosuko, Japanese armor. For example, the samurai were predominantly cavalry. I mean, they rode horses. And if you spend any time on a horse, one thing you know is that if you ride a horse with something on the inside of your thigh, it chafes. So there was no metal armor on the inside of the thigh. Samurai wore a divided metal apron called a haidate. Metal on the outside, not on the inside. And as luck would have it, the femoral artery runs right up the inside of the thigh. So, what?
This is still a family show.
Alright, fine. If you take the sharp, shiny thing and swing it against the inside of someone's leg, bad things will happen. Now, for anybody who's ever seen a samurai epic, or Samurai Jack, at the end of the episode, there's always a bad guy. He's big, he's smelly, barely speaks English. Actually, that sounds like the former governor of California. But he's got a sword up over his head, and he's flying towards the camera going, ah! Don't take my picture, that's always what ends up on YouTube. Ah! Hire me! On the other side is the hero of our story. Better looking, speaks English, probably gets the girl at the end. But he's waiting to end the Governor's part, the bad guy's part of the movie, when he lands by cutting him in half. So! a skill, jumping just out of reach before I say something stupid. Every once in a while I get the order switch, and I say something stupid, then get ready to jump, and she boots me.
Every once in a while, dear, that's why we have the clock.
The clock isn't so I know when to stop. We used to keep track of how long I could go before I put my foot in my mouth. And just so we know, the record is 11 minutes. Now while you're going, hey, that's not too bad, half-hour show. Every 11 minutes, no, that's the longest I've ever gone. All right, fine. How many of you want to see her cut with a sword? How many of you want to see her do something incredibly dangerous with a sword? How many of you want to see her do something incredibly dangerous and stupid with a sword? Everybody but the concher. How many of you want to see her do something incredibly dangerous and stupid and put my life at risk? Say this. Right, fine. This is what's going to happen. Do you remember that cut you would let me explain? I'm going to cut up through the target, and my lovely and talented wife is going to take that razor blade that she calls a sword, and when I cut through the mat, she's going to cut the piece of mat that I cut off, she's going to cut it in half before it hits the floor. Without hitting me. You guys never sound as excited about that one. Alright, yeah, look. The reason why I explain, if you're going to take pictures and stuff with double cut, it's really cool, and I want you to be ready for it because, frankly, once I get started, it doesn't take very long. That's not what I meant! Good, alright, so I cut through the mat, she cuts through the mat, you erupt in thunderous applause, and we go away, got it? Alright, are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah!
I'm not, just a minute. How's that thing go?
What are you doing? You're not even Catholic.
It couldn't have hurt. Hey! Which, as you all know, is an ancient Japanese curse that if you do not come to the rave tonight, I'll out.
He's not joking. He skipped the rave last night.
Look, I'm old, I'm tired. Leave me alone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You are wonderful. And if anybody else would like a piece of that, the cutting mats, come on up and get some.